In 1969, when the Beatles were promoting what would become one of their most monumental records, Abbey Road, journalists often asked a simple but fascinating question. Which songs on the album were the band members' personal favorites? For George Harrison, the answer wasn't easy. The album was packed with strong contributions from each member of the group. He mentioned several tracks with admiration, from the story-driven songwriting of Paul McCartney to the more atmospheric compositions by John Lennon. But among all the songs on Abbey Road, there was one in particular that Harrison found especially remarkable. One of the first songs he praised was She Came In Through the Bathroom Window.
She came in through the bathroom window.
A McCartney track with a rather unusual backstory. The song was inspired by a real-life incident involving an obsessive fan named Diane Ashley. In the late 1960s, Ashley was often seen lingering around McCartney's home in St. John's Wood, London. In one incident that later became legendary among Beatles fans, she even managed to enter the house through a bathroom window. McCartney later transformed the bizarre experience into a witty and character-filled set of lyrics. Harrison described the track as one of McCartney's strongest songs, particularly praising its clever lyrics. He also spoke highly of the emotional ballad Golden Slumbers, another McCartney composition.
Golden slumbers fill your eyes.
The song was inspired by a 17th-century poem written by Thomas Dekker, which McCartney discovered by chance in an old book that belonged to his father. With its sweeping orchestral arrangement and gentle melody, Golden Slumbers later became one of the most moving moments in the legendary medley on the second side of Abbey Road. Yet, among all the songs he mentioned, Harrison had a special admiration for one Lennon composition that felt far more mysterious and atmospheric, Because.
Because the world is round, it turns.
The track may not have been a major single like Come Together or Something, but for Harrison, Because possessed extraordinary musical qualities. Running just under 3 minutes, the song acts almost like a quiet pause within the album, sitting between the bright optimism of Harrison's Here Comes the Sun and the beginning of the long medley that starts with You Never Give Me Your Money. The origins of the song were also quite unusual. One day, in 1969, Yoko Ono was playing the piano at home and began performing a famous classical piece by Ludwig van Beethoven, Piano Sonata No. 14 in C-sharp minor. As Lennon listened, an idea suddenly struck him. He asked Ono to play the chord progression from Beethoven's piece backwards. From that simple experiment, Because slowly began to take shape. In a later interview, Lennon explained the creative moment in his typically direct way. According to him, the lyrics were intentionally simple and straightforward. There were no complicated metaphors or obscure symbolism, just a series of short lines reflecting on the connection between humanity and the natural world. But the real magic of Because lies in its vocal harmonies. In the recording, Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison sang a 3-part harmony that was then overdubbed 2 additional times. The technique created the illusion of 9 voices blending together, producing a lush vocal texture that almost resembles a small choir. Although the song sounds gentle and effortless, the vocal parts were actually quite difficult to record. Harrison later admitted that the harmonies were challenging enough that the band had to carefully learn and rehearse them before completing the final take. For Harrison, the song also revealed a different side of Lennon as a songwriter. Over the years, Lennon had often been associated with harder rock songs or more experimental material, while McCartney was known for writing sweeter melodies. But with Because, Lennon delivered something far more delicate, almost like a piece of modern classical pop. There is also another interesting detail. Because was the last song Lennon brought into the Abbey Road recording sessions, and it ultimately became the final song recorded for the album. In many ways, it feels like one of Lennon's last creative touches on the final studio album the Beatles truly recorded together. For Harrison, all of these elements made the song feel special. He even once said that it might be his personal favorite on Abbey Road. The lyrics are very simple. The harmony was quite difficult to sing, so he really had to learn it properly. But I think it's one of the songs that will impress people the most. More than half a century later, Because remains one of the hidden gems in the Beatles' catalog. It was never a major radio hit, yet for many fans and musicians, it stands as a perfect example of the band's creativity at its peak, a moment when classical inspiration, rich harmonies, and experimental ideas came together to create something simple, beautiful, and timeless.